After breaking up with the wealthy heir for a long time, he had already moved on to someone new. He intercepted my resources and took away the role I had prepared for 6 months to pave the way for his new flame. On the day I won the Best Actress award, the host asked me, "When you first debuted, you sang the theme song SNY. I heard it was named after your lover?" In the audience, SNY suddenly looked up, his face full of disbelief. Few people knew that the wealthy heir was named SNY. It wasn't until now that he realized how much I had once, truly, deeply loved him. I had hidden his name in the song title. But now, I simply shook my head, smiled, and denied it. That's all in the past. On the way to the film festival, my manager Trista looked upset as she told me, "Our deal with the top luxury brand in Asia has ended. They've replaced you with Renee again." I lowered my eyes calmly and said, "I'm used to it." She lit a cigarette, unable to suppress her anxiety. "How many times has she snatched resources from you this year? From that famous director's new movie lead role, to top advertising and variety show contracts, and now the most important luxury brand endorsement, all taken by Renee. You prepared for that movie for half a year, cleared your schedule for a whole year, gained 20 pounds, and then lost it again, all ready to shoot, and they just replaced you like that." I didn't mind losing endorsements, but that movie role, I couldn't let it go. I took the cigarette from Trista's fingers, my eyes stung a little as I gently reminded her. "Trista, there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. Because behind Renee is SNY, and he has shares in many entertainment companies. Even our company isn't an exception. Renee is the only girlfriend SNY has publicly acknowledged. In just 1 year of being in the industry, she already has a famous director's film under her belt, and this time, she was nominated for Best Actress alongside me at the film festival. When SNY decides to lift someone up, he'll give her nothing but the best. I just happened to be in the way." Trista glanced at me. "If you end up losing to Renee again, you'll be mocked all over the trending topics. Good scripts won't even come your way anymore." Renee got a nomination in her first year in the industry with that movie. I, on the other hand, started as a background extra and stunt double. After years of hard work, I became known for my acting skills, but every time I got nominated, I ended up just running along for the ride. The haters called me the almost best actress. I looked out the car window, watching the endless stream of cars. If I lose again, things will only get harder for me. Still fuming over the stolen endorsement, Trista couldn't help but blurt out, "Yetta, you used to be with SNY, right? Why didn't he ever go all out for you like that?" I turned my gaze from the window and looked at Trista for a moment. My voice was quiet. "Trista, I was really just in love with him. Not just a fling, but a real relationship. That's all. But no one else saw it that way. Because we were never equals. From the very beginning, it was never a fair game. SNY had done things for me like that too, but not much, just once. When Trista was racking her brains to get me a top fashion endorsement, SNY took me on his private jet to Europe, to a small, exclusive private party. When we got back, I received an invitation to be the Asia-Pacific ambassador for a luxury brand. But I was quiet on the way back. Flying at tens of thousands of feet in the stratosphere, SNY knelt in front of me, cupped my face, and laughed. "Why are you upset all of a sudden?" I wasn't upset, I just didn't know what to say. "SNY, what you give is too much. Please don't do this again." SNY laughed, leaned in, and our noses touched. His warm breath fell on my face. "Compared to my heart, what is this? We're in love, what's wrong with me being good to you? I'm only afraid I haven't given you enough." His playful nudging made me smile, and I swallowed the question I wanted to ask. If one day you no longer love me, what happens to all of this? If your heart belongs to someone else, then what? Now I know the answer. It doesn't matter if it was given by him or not. He'll take it all back. The red carpet before the film festival was always a major event. I hadn't finished my walk when a commotion erupted behind me. The media and photographers immediately turned their cameras toward the back. I turned around, and sure enough, it was Renee. But standing next to her was someone else, SNY, walking with her. SNY had always hated being in the public eye, so I didn't expect him to walk the red carpet with Renee. He saw me, but only for a split second before he looked away, lowering his head to fix Renee's dress. Renee asked, "What's wrong?" I heard him scoff softly. "Nothing, just a nobody." During the Best Actress award announcement, the host called my name twice, before I snapped out of my daze and stood up. Footage from my film played on the big screen as cheers erupted around me. The moment I took the trophy, it hit me, I actually won. SNY and Renee were seated in the front row. Renee had just lost and looked pale. SNY kept his head down, ignoring Renee. It seemed like he was listening intently to my acceptance speech. My speech was long, thanking name after name. When I reached the end, his name was nowhere to be found. The person I once placed at the top of my list had long been erased by me. The host, a well-known comedian in the industry, tried to lighten the mood with a joke. "Yetta, I heard when you debuted, you named the TV drama theme song S and Y after your beloved's name, is that true?" Not only did I sing that theme song, but I also wrote the lyrics. I had selfishly hidden the name of the person I loved most in the title. I saw SNY in the audience suddenly lift his head, his face filled with disbelief. Few people knew that the heir's name was SNY. It wasn't until now that he realized how deeply, deeply I had once loved him. I looked at the panicked Renee beside him, shook my head, and smiled as I denied it. That's all in the past. After receiving the award and returning to my seat, both my hands and heart were burning, and I barely held back tears. Before the festival, no one in the industry expected me to win. The favorite to win was Renee, but I ended up surprising everyone. Suddenly, a tissue was handed to me, and a low voice said, "The cameras aren't on us right now, wipe your tears." Sitting next to me was Nathan, a Grand Slam actor, a true genius who starred as the lead in the film I just won for. If it weren't for Nathan's recommendation, the director wouldn't have thought to let me audition. If it weren't for his acting, I could never have performed so well. But as I stared at the tissue, my fingers curled slightly before taking it, and I whispered, "Thank you." Nathan didn't say anything else, just grunted in response, his eyes still on the stage. As always, he was as aloof and unapproachable as the rumors said. As if the day the film wrapped, when he walked me to the beach under the moonlight and confessed to me, had never happened. Leaving the event, the atmosphere in my team was completely different from when we arrived. My manager, Trista, was glowing, her earlier gloom gone. But just before getting into the car, a few fans suddenly rushed up and blocked my way. The security tried to chase them away, but I stopped them and signed for each one. They had probably come from far away, and it would be disappointing to leave empty-handed. As I finished signing the last autograph, I heard someone call my name from behind. My hand paused slightly, mid-stroke on the last letter. It was SNY, standing not far behind me, calling, "Yetta." I lowered my eyes, acting as if I hadn't heard, smiling as I said a few kind words to the fans before my assistant helped lift my dress as I got into the car. The car started, and the window was half down. I saw the smiling faces of the fans outside, and SNY standing there, alone. His peach blossom eyes, which used to be full of laughter, now just stared at me in silence. The last time he called my name was the day we broke up. He was utterly disappointed, his eyes filled with rage as he said, "Yetta, you say you love me, but why have I never felt it?" Through the car window, I waved gently at the fans and SNY, smiling peacefully as if it were a final goodbye. The van drove forward. "SNY, go find it, if you want to. Maybe in those faded memories, you'll find the answers you're looking for. But it's all in the past now." When I got back, I was taking off my makeup. My assistant, a social media expert, gasped and handed me her phone. "Yetta, you're trending." The trending topics tonight were all about the film festival, and I was in several of them. But the number one spot was surprisingly a post exposing my first love. The song title S and Y got dug up from there. I pressed my lips together as I read through the long post, feeling a bit dazed. There were things in there I had forgotten myself. Apparently, during a shoot at White Mountain, I had once climbed to the top of the snowy peak just to hang a prayer plaque for SNY. A local TV station randomly interviewed tourists, asking them to send a message to their prayer recipients. Wearing a mask, I smiled and said, "SNY, it's so cold." SNY, of course, would never watch such a small TV station. He would never know that the snow that day on White Mountain was really heavy. The post was quite accurate, it even included an old interview of mine. Back then, my eyes still had a youthful sparkle, and I smiled brightly, saying, "If one day I win an award, he'll definitely be the first person I thank." The reporter pressed, "Who is he?" In the video, I smiled with my eyes, but didn't answer. But tonight, the first person on my thank you list was the female director of my last film, to whom I owed my gratitude. It wasn't the person I had promised long ago. That relationship ended ungracefully, with no closure. Even the netizens could tell my romance had ended. They guessed every male actor I'd worked with, but no one came close. S&Y's name never appeared once, and only then did I feel relieved. Fans love to ship couples, and things can easily spiral out of control, especially since SNY already has a new girlfriend now. The internet will forget all this in a couple of days. After winning the award, scripts from famous directors came pouring in, and my agent and I were still choosing one. There was a bit of a gap between the script we liked and when filming would begin, so Trista signed me up for a highly rated actor competition show where I was invited to be a judge. Just one episode and I'd be done. But I didn't expect to run into so many familiar faces. Among the judges was Nathan, the actor I had just worked with on my last film. When I arrived on set, I bumped into Renee. That's when I found out she would be participating in the show as a contestant. The producers were clearly fishing for drama, two actresses who had just competed for the Best Actress title at the film festival, now facing off in an acting competition show. The difference was, this time I was a judge, and Renee was a contestant. Ratings would surely be high. It was unusual not to see SNY accompanying Renee to the recording. Word was, he always looked after her, checking the set's safety and her living conditions whenever she joined a new project. Everyone in the industry knew SNY was the perfect boyfriend. With his rebellious rich boy persona, it was hard to imagine he could live up to that title. The show hadn't started recording yet. I had been in the industry much longer than Renee, and though we knew each other, we weren't close. I gave her a polite smile as we were about to pass each other. But she stopped me. "Yetta, I haven't had the chance to congratulate you on winning Best Actress." I paused and turned around. Renee stood there, a faint smile on her lips. My boyfriend thought I was going to win. I even prepared a whole speech thanking him before the festival. He's so childish. I quietly looked at her, waiting for her next words. Renee's smile faltered, and her lips turned down as she continued. "Maybe you don't know this, but my boyfriend is SNY. He said that song you wrote, S&Y, is awful. He hopes you never disgust him with it again." I wasn't angry. After a moment of thought, I calmly responded. "You two are a good match. His taste, your acting, they're equally bad." Renee, who had been riding the waves of success in her acting career, had probably never heard such blunt criticism before. Her face turned pale with anger. If it weren't for the famous director, the top-notch script, and the high-level production, she wouldn't even have been nominated alongside me. I left her standing there and walked on. Rounding the corner, I noticed someone else standing there, Nathan, leaning against the wall, chewing on a cigarette, though it wasn't lit. The clear sunlight fell on his face, making him look even more distant. I hadn't expected him to join the show. He rarely did interviews or ads, and kept a very low profile. I pressed my lips together and called his name, unsure how much he had heard. "Nathan." He turned his head slightly, giving a small nod. He had probably just been passing by and accidentally stumbled into a confrontation between two actresses, so he stayed out of it to avoid any awkwardness. He tossed the unlit cigarette into a trash can and spoke in his husky voice. "The producers are looking for us. Let's go." He wasn't much of a talker. Even though we had spent 6 months working together on a movie with many scenes together, we weren't particularly close. As we walked side by side down the quiet hallway, he suddenly dropped a remark out of nowhere. Nathan said, "Your ex-boyfriend's taste really is terrible. Most reality shows have scripts, and this one, which claimed to strive for excellence in acting, was no exception. One rule in the script was that Renee would advance to the final round. I wasn't surprised. After all, this show was funded by S&Y's company, and Trista had already hinted at it before we came. The producers had told us judges to go easy on Renee when critiquing her acting. But Renee wasn't so lucky. In the first round, she was paired with a highly skilled child actor. Without a strong director to guide her, her acting was noticeably lacking. But that didn't matter. The judges would back her up. Casual viewers just watch for entertainment. As long as the judges endorsed her, even if she was subpar, the audience would accept it. The other judges dutifully praised Renee, and she stood on stage, smiling brightly. "Thank you, teachers, for your kind words. I'll work even harder." Beside her, the talented child actor clenched their fists, remaining silent. But some people just have it easier. In a way, Renee's smooth path was unfair to others. Then it was Nathan's turn. He didn't even look up, and when the director nudged him, Nathan finally responded, sounding a bit annoyed. "Eyesore. Don't want to comment. Blunt and to the point." Nathan's words carried a lot of weight in the industry. When he said that, Renee was stunned, and tears began to well up. The result of Renee's crying was that SNY showed up at the recording set that afternoon. The assistant and makeup artist, upon hearing the heir to a wealthy family had arrived, rushed out to catch a glimpse of the scene. SNY rarely made public appearances, but the rumor was that his looks could outshine most male celebrities. Naturally, they were curious. I was alone in the dressing room, reviewing the script for my next movie, jotting notes in the margins. It felt unusually quiet around me, so I stopped writing and looked up, only to realize that the dressing room door had been open for a while. SNY was leaning against the doorway, looking at me, and I had no idea how long he had been standing there. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the open door, casting a soft, golden glow. After we broke up, I'd run into SNY a few times, and every time his face was filled with cold hostility. But this time, he seemed calm and silent. The last time we were this peaceful together had been a long, long time ago. I hesitated for a moment and then pointed towards the other room. "Renee's dressing room is at the end of the hall." SNY didn't seem to hear me. Instead, he said my name. "Yetta. I saw the post online." He raised his eyes. "Is it true?" His voice cracked slightly toward the end, revealing a sliver of genuine emotion. He wasn't as composed as he seemed on the surface. He couldn't finish the rest of his sentence, but I understood what he was asking. He wanted to know if I had truly, silently, and profoundly loved him like the post suggested. I saw his hand gripping the doorframe, veins standing out, his knuckles turning white. S&Y's disheveled hair hung down, and he looked like a man drowning, waiting for a life-saving answer from me. I heard my own voice. I said, "No." I closed the script, smiled, and denied it. "I've seen that post too. It's all baseless rumors. It's not true. People online love to make wild guesses and overinterpret every little detail. You and Renee shouldn't overthink it. I'm really sorry it caused you both trouble." He abruptly straightened up, his lips pressed into a firm line. I thought he was about to leave, but then remembered what happened earlier that morning. So I seriously reminded SNY, being an actor is a lifelong career. If you want Renee to go far, you can't indulge her too much. She needs to walk the path alone and sharpen her skills for a while. Something in my words seemed to hit a nerve. He slammed the door shut, then kicked the nearest makeup table. The table crashed to the floor with a loud bang, and the mirror and makeup scattered everywhere in pieces. SNY turned back to look at me, his eyes bloodshot with rage. He said, "Yetta, I let you walk alone too. And look what happened, you almost died. Do you even have a heart?" In the 3 years I was with SNY, he only lost his temper with me twice. The first time was when I fell off a horse while filming a riding scene and got dragged for several meters. Luckily, I wasn't badly hurt, and after half a month in the hospital, I was fine. But SNY was furious. The production was put on hold for as long as I was hospitalized. I told him he was overreacting. He stood by the hospital bed, slicing an apple with a cold smile on his lips. They're bullying you because you don't have a background. They want to pretend like the accident never happened. Once you recover, I'll make the director and producer come to apologize to you one by one. He added, couldn't you have used a stunt double? Or just tell them you're my girlfriend? Am I, SNY, that insignificant? I shook my head. SNY lowered his gaze and eventually compromised, then don't do these kinds of scenes anymore, Yetta. It scares me. Back then, not many people knew I was dating SNY. I grew up in an orphanage, didn't go to college, and spent years as an extra and stunt double. SNY and I came from two completely different worlds. I worked hard, honing my acting skills, dreaming that one day I might win an award for Best Actress. And then, during the acceptance speech, I'd proudly tell the world, he's my man. Later, I finally got that chance. The lead role in a new film, a character perfectly suited to me, with a top-notch production team. After landing the part, I gained 20 pounds for the role, then lost the weight when the shooting schedule changed. I cleared my schedule for a whole year just for this film. After a month of filming, an accident happened during a high-altitude scene. Because of a mistake by the props team, the harness I was in had aged. I fell from a height, and there happened to be a steel rod below. Luckily, I dodged it slightly, or I would have died on the spot. But the rod pierced through my shoulder, and I passed out immediately. This time, it was far worse than the last accident. At that time, SNY was in Australia on business for several months. I didn't tell him about this. As long as I could finish this film, I'd definitely win an award and have the confidence to stand next to him. I just needed the time it took to finish this movie, and everything would be easier after that. But SNY found out. He showed up just as I was about to be discharged, my deep wound already growing new skin. He rushed in, looking cold and exhausted, silently flipping through my medical records, his lips pressed into a thin line. When he saw the photo of my original injury, he stopped breathing for a moment and crumpled the photo into a ball. SNY was ice-cold all over, staring at me. If I hadn't come back early, were you planning on hiding this from me forever? His eyes were wide with anger, filled with disappointment. He said, Yetta, you say you love me. Then tell me, why is it that I've never felt that love? SNY stormed out, and I chased him all the way down the hallway. I tripped in front of a crowd of people, but he didn't even turn back. SNY and I broke up. That film was put on hold due to my injury. 2 years later, when production resumed, the lead actress was replaced by S&Y's new girlfriend, Renee. That day, I had a question for him too. SNY, you say you love me. But you only love me. You don't care about what I wrote on the prayer plaque at White Mountain. You don't ask why I want so badly to win an award. You can't understand why I don't want to use your resources. Your life is so full. I'm just a sunken ship in the sea of your life. The commotion in the dressing room attracted attention. The first person to arrive was Nathan. Nathan frowned, looking at the mess on the floor. He walked over to me, positioning himself between SNY and me in a protective stance. He glanced at SNY, his sharp jaw clenched, and coldly asked, "What's wrong with you?" More people were gathering at the door, and in the distance, I heard someone calling Renee's name. SNY didn't get the response he was waiting for. He stood up straight, his gaze shifting between Nathan and me, then he let out a mocking laugh, shoved past the crowd, and stormed out. People were still gathered at the dressing room door, staring at the chaos inside. Nathan stood up and closed the door, firmly shutting out all prying eyes. The noise outside faded away. He found some cotton swabs and antiseptic wipes. As he crouched down to tend to my hand, I realized that a piece of shattered glass had left a thin cut on my skin. I tried to push him away, but he hooked his fingers around mine. Nathan looked up at me, the small mole on the bridge of his nose catching the light. He said, "I'm out of character, Yetta." In the film we worked on together, Nathan played the male lead, who was madly in love with the female protagonist. The kind of love that drives someone to madness. And I played the female lead. Many actors blur the line between themselves and their characters after filming for so long, getting too deep into the role. So when Nathan came to send me off after we wrapped, confessing his feelings to me by the seaside, I thought he was just too immersed in his role, extending his character's love for the female lead to me. He was always a loner, almost reclusive, and I wasn't the most sociable either. We didn't get close during the shoot, and if there was any common ground between us, it was that we both loved acting. I rejected him like this: "Nathan, you're just still in character." But now, in this chaotic dressing room, he knelt in front of me, looking up, the sunlight reflecting in his almost icy cold eyes. Nathan calmly said, "I'm out of character now. But even when I'm clear-headed, I still like you." The show was still being filmed. After SNY showed up to support Renee, her confidence soared. She's not shy about mocking the other contestants, and has demanded to re-record scenes more than once when she wasn't happy with her performance. The production team has bent over backward to accommodate her. More than once, I overheard the younger actors on the show cursing her behind her back, calling her arrogant and accusing her of using connections to get ahead. But I didn't expect that after Renee's second performance, she would turn her attention to me. Standing on stage with a bright smile, she looked directly at me, one of the judges, and said, "Actually, Yetta was originally supposed to play the lead role in The Light. It's no fun just watching us perform classic scenes. How about this, Yetta? Why don't you perform that famous scene for us as a demonstration?" Her eyes locked onto mine, sharp and aggressive. In that moment, I understood why Renee had joined this show. Though she was relatively new, her breakout role in The Light earned her an award nomination. She shot to fame right after her debut, but at the film festival, she lost to me. She's clearly not over it. There were already comments online saying that if I had starred in The Light as originally planned, the film would have won more than just domestic awards. Renee wasn't satisfied with that. She wanted to use this acting competition show to challenge me and force me to reenact the scene from The Light. I looked steadily at her and suddenly felt a sense of relief. Leaning back, I smiled and said, "Sure." Not getting the role in director Lee's The Light has always been a lingering regret for me. Now, I can finally let it go. Nathan and I rehearsed the scene for an hour backstage, running through the lines a few times. By the time we stepped on stage, the lighting and set were already in place. The heroine of Light is a blind woman. I spent 6 months trying to grasp her psychological depth. The moment the film was released, I went to see it. As I watched, I kept wondering, if I were the one acting, how would I portray the scene? The moment they called action, I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, I had become the blind woman, her eyes vacant and lifeless. Nathan is a naturally gifted actor, but in this scene, I completely overshadowed him. No one knew how much heart and soul I had poured into this role. Years of unresolved emotions culminated in this passionate, spontaneous performance. When the performance ended, the entire set fell silent. Renee's face had turned pale, and she could barely keep herself from collapsing. Compared to the original movie, the live effect was on a whole different level. It was clear who outshone whom in this performance. I couldn't shake off the emotions for a long time. From the corner of my eye, I spotted someone at the far end of the guest seats, almost hidden in the darkness. SNY was sitting there. The bright light stung his eyes, causing tears to flow. Memories, sharp as knives, cut deep into his most painful nerves, and he tried to endure the pain, veins bulging at his temples. At this moment, the pain of the past didn't matter. He finally understood what light truly meant to me. But SNY had once snuffed out that dream with his own hands. After filming the first episode, my collaboration with this variety show was nearly over. But just as I got home, ready to rest, something unexpected happened. Footage from the show's behind-the-scenes moments started circulating online. Before the show even aired, it was already gaining a lot of attention. Somehow, a video leaked of Renee crying after being harshly criticized on stage during her first performance. In contrast, I was shown sitting coldly at the judges' table, looking almost cruel. Then came the rumors, with photos to back them up, claiming that the heir of a wealthy family had come to visit his girlfriend on set, only to be seduced by the leading actress, which led him to trash the actress's dressing room in anger. Although no names were mentioned, I was the only award-winning actress on the entire show. Besides, Renee herself posted, workplace bullying and stealing someone else's man. Can some people show a little shame? Though the post was deleted within a minute, it had already caused a huge uproar online. Everything pointed directly at me, like a blade aimed at my throat. At this point, the production team should have stepped in to clear things up for me, but they stayed silent, enjoying the buzz brought on by the controversy. It took several phone calls from Trista to the director before he finally answered. His response was vague: "The episode is still in production. Once it airs, people will understand what really happened. If we clarify things now, won't the audience know the plot of the show? Just hang in there, public figures always face more drama." He was stalling, refusing to take a stand. After the call, Trista looked grim. "This isn't even the main issue now. The real fear is that the show's team is rushing to edit things maliciously, following the online narrative of you bullying Renee. This was the wrong show to take. If I had known she would be involved, no amount of money would have made me let you sign up for this." Since her debut, Renee had been labeled as the girlfriend of a powerful heir, a star with access to top-tier resources. Although she had many detractors, her loyal fans weren't few either. I said, "Find out who filmed that behind-the-scenes footage and how it got leaked. Send legal notices to the big accounts spreading false rumors. Investigate the company behind the paid trolls stirring things up. Let's handle what we can for now." Everyone got busy, and I walked over to the window. It was already night. The sky was a pure, deep blue, with traffic endlessly flowing below. Just then, I got a call. A low, hoarse voice came through the receiver. It was SNY. "Look into the distance." I looked up, and fireworks bloomed across the vast night sky. For a moment, it felt like eternity. Against the clear blue backdrop, they fell like stars. The entire city seemed to be gazing at the sky in that instant. I heard SNY choke up on the other end of the line. "I'm here to fulfill my promise," he said. "Congratulations, Yetta." "And I'm sorry, Yetta. If our meeting when we were young was destiny, was it a gift from the gods, or a punishment?" Back then, I had told SNY, "I'm going to win the Best Actress award. You'll have to settle for being the man behind the star." SNY had grabbed my chin, laughing indulgently, "When that day comes, I'll send you the biggest fireworks to celebrate." They were beautiful. I saw them now, but where was the person from back then? I went up to the rooftop of the office building, and there he was, waiting for me. The wind on the rooftop was strong, making it hard to keep my eyes open. Empty beer cans were scattered around, one rolling to my feet with a clink. I picked it up and placed it next to SNY. There were already many empty cans beside him. I had no idea how much he had drunk. SNY didn't turn around, his lips pale and tightly pressed together. The wind almost swallowed his trembling voice. "I'm sorry about the situation with Renee's show. I already made her delete the post. You don't have to worry. I'll take care of everything." To him, it was never a big deal to begin with. The wind whipped my hair, and I suddenly felt like I had nothing left to say. After a long silence, I spoke. "My team and I will handle this ourselves. This scandal doesn't really have much to do with you, and it would be bad to get more involved. Besides, Renee is still your girlfriend." SNY took a sip of beer, his eyes downcast, speaking lightly, "She's not. I have a contract with Renee. For 1 year, maybe 2, I'll give her any resources she wants. Even using the title of girlfriend to promote her didn't bother me. I only had one condition: she had to win the Best Actress award as a newcomer." He smirked, almost mockingly. "I spent 2 years just to prove one thing, that if you hadn't worked so hard, and had leaned on me, you could have reached the same heights. I waited for you to regret it, to come back." I wanted to smile, but couldn't bring myself to. SNY said, "After we broke up, I started having trouble sleeping. Sometimes, I'd hear my phone ring in my dreams, only to wake up and realize I'd been waiting for a call from you all along. I didn't care what you would say, just hearing you call my name once would have been enough. Just one SNY, and I would have run back to you." He looked at me then, and all the emotions he had been holding back poured out. Tears streamed down his face, and he looked utterly worn out. SNY whispered, I'm sorry. As snowflakes began to fall from the vast sky, the first snow of the year came so unexpectedly. His voice cracked, almost begging. After the film festival, I stayed up all night listening to SNY and reading all the posts online. Yetta, did you ever really love me? I wiped the snow from my face, and as it melted, it felt just like tears. I did, I said. And now? Softly, I replied, SNY, that's in the past. The answer was clear. I saw SNY almost stumble. In his palm, which he had kept tightly clenched, was a ring. He said, Yetta, this is your ring. Did I ever tell you that when I came back from Australia, I was planning to propose to you? I hadn't expected to be in the hospital then. I hadn't expected him to learn from someone else that my life had been hanging by a thread. In our youth, we had clashed, but now, we both felt nothing but regret. I gently closed his hand over the ring. His fingers were trembling. I said, SNY, I never regretted meeting you. I didn't accept the ring. When I left, it was still snowing on the rooftop. SNY stood there alone, the wind tugging at the hem of his coat, and he didn't move for a long time. When I got back, things had already taken a surprising turn. Public opinion was still brewing, with most of the noise coming from Renee's fans, while the general public hadn't really joined in yet. Nathan, who never posts anything, was the first to speak out with just 4 concise words, pure speculation. He also shared a new, uncut behind-the-scenes clip. In it, you could see Nathan sitting in the judge's seat, impatiently throwing out the comment, hurts my eyes. I don't want to judge this, after which Renee burst into tears. Nathan's national influence is beyond imagination, and the internet joked that his clarification was more like self-sabotage. Surprisingly, the tide of public opinion didn't fully swing in Renee's favor. Trista hadn't even had time to hire trolls or push for press releases. People didn't stop at criticizing Renee, they went on to blame the show's production team, calling out their inaction. The director's personal social media blew up with complaints, and he had to get out of bed in the middle of the night to start a livestream, apologizing to the viewers. He frantically contacted the video platform, and by the next day, the show's full episode was rushed online. The full episode used the original footage, no malicious edits. It showed everything exactly as it happened, not even cutting out Renee's diva-like behavior. The final scene where Nathan and I acted together pushed the show's first episode to a new peak. The director of Light even called me. After a long silence, he said, Yetta, not casting you back then was definitely the biggest mistake for the whole film. When reporters asked SNY about Renee implying I had interfered in their relationship, he let out a sarcastic laugh, there was never a relationship. What's there to interfere with? Renee's just acting crazy. Our contract ended ages ago. Probably tired of the drama, he directly posted their business contract, which quickly became one of the biggest entertainment news stories of the year. Even long after, people online were still baffled by how eager SNY was to groom a new Best Actress. What was his motive?